going on, folks? My name is George Gamble from Premier Sports Plays and SBR Sports Picks, and I'm back again to delve into the Tuesday action from Euro 2020. In this particular video, I'm going to be running the rule over the opening games in the group of death as Hungary host Portugal and France take a trip to Munich to face Germany. But before we begin, another question for you. I want you to tell me, if you had to make a double of the results from the Tuesday games, what would you pick? Will Portugal put a marker down and absolutely thump Hungary at the Puskás Arena? Or will Germany overcome an all-star France side at the Allianz? Comment with your answer below and we'll see who thinks the same as you. Right, so moving on, I'm going to discuss Hungary against Portugal at the Puskás Arena. It's one that I'm looking forward to, but Hungary, the absolute minnows of the group, no one's really expecting them to kind of do anything or even qualify due to the sheer strength of the other three sides. Now, no side has actually travelled to Hungary and won by more than a single goal since Russia way back in 2017, and that was 22 games ago, and that includes Portugal, who won by just a single goal. Hungary have also scored in 18 of their last 22 home games that have taken place on home soil. It was actually a dramatic 2-1 victory against Iceland in the final playoff game that sealed Hungary's qualification back in November. But the coach, Marco Rossi, he's had to deal with a lot of injury problems ever since. The one player that they're really going to miss, and you're going to have to forgive me on the pronunciation here, is Dominik Szoboszlai. Obviously plays for RB Salzburg as a midfielder, and he's not recovered in time. And as well as that, another midfielder, Kalmar Zolt, was also ruled out, and that just creates further problems for them, and it's problems they don't need in a group like this. But looking at the two, there's been a single goal in each of Hungary's last 3 home games against Portugal. They're always tight games, and I'm expecting nothing different here, really. So looking at Portugal in further depth, they're the holders of the Euros at the moment. So they're looking to get their title defence underway by playing the weakest side in the group, and it's an excellent opportunity for them to take the initiative as this game takes place before France and Germany, who we'll be discussing shortly. And it's a real opportunity for them to put a marker down and you kind of get that step ahead in the group, because they're going to need to get all the wins they can, because they're going to have some tough games and games that are really going to decide where they finish. If they can suddenly break into that top 2, as many people are expecting France and Germany to occupy them. So maybe Portugal can sneak a surprise and kind of occupy one of those 2 spots. But looking at it as well, the Portuguese have won 6 of their 7 previous encounters with Hungary and have never lost against them. They've never lost against the Hungarians, and at least 3 goals have been scored in 4 of Portugal's last 6 fixtures, winning 4 of those 6 as well. They haven't lost since going 1-0 down to France in the Nations League, and everyone knows the quality that France have, so there's no shame in losing to France, and it was still a tight game with plenty of opportunities. Cristiano Ronaldo, arguably the best player to have ever played the game, has scored 11 goals in qualifying for Euro 2020, and even at the age of 36, he's still banging them in. It's just ridiculous. He's netted 29 times in Serie A alone for Juventus this season. Juve didn't have the greatest of seasons, but nevertheless, Ronaldo delivered, as he always does. But yeah, as I said, Portugal, great record against Hungary. They've managed to score exactly 3 goals against them in 5 of the pair's last 7 head-to-heads. And just kind of looking at the analysis, really, going into this game, as we've mentioned, Portugal, they have got an embarrassment of attacking talent. Yes, they've got Ronaldo, but now they've got other players that can kind of take over and contribute and step up. So, yes, they've got Ronaldo, but the thing is, they've also got Fernandes. They have got the likes of, Jota and a host of other talents as well. But despite having all this attacking talent, all of this attacking flair, they're quite conservative in attack at times. The last game, they beat Israel by 4-0, but earlier in the year, for example, they played Azerbaijan at home and managed to just win 1-0. So when they come up against compact defences, they quite often struggle. And considering the fact that Portugal, every time they've gone to, I think the last 3 times they've gone to Hungary, it's only been a single goal. I think we're in for another tight game here. And so that's the kind of angle that I'm looking at. Just looking at Portugal to win and under 3.5 match goals is evens. So plus 100 on Unibet. And I think that's cracking value. There's no way I see there being 4 goals in this game. I think Hungary, despite missing some of their key attackers, they're going to be resolute. They're going to be strong defensively and look to hit Portugal on the counter. They're not going to want to concede 3-4 goals, and I don't think they will. I think they're going to be quite strong. Playing at the Puskás Arena as well, their preferred home ground. So everything here points to the unders for me, but I do think Portugal, the cream rises to the crop, to the top even. And yeah, for me, Portugal to win an under 3.5 match goals was the bet to be on. So you can get that plus 100 on Unibet. And then finally, we move on to the big one. It's the one that everyone's looking forward to. It's France against Germany at the Allianz Arena in Munich. So yeah, there's two of the European heavyweights. They're both going to be looking to make a statement in this Euro 2020 group. It's difficult though. The Germans are going to have home advantage, but the French come into it knowing that they're world champions and probably the best international side on the planet with a ridiculous strength in depth. I mean, they've got two players for each position who would get into any other side. They're just fantastic. But looking at France sort of a bit further, Les Bleus are unbeaten in their last 5 games against Germany, and they've won 3 of those as well. And in the 30 games they've played since winning that World Cup, they've scored in 25 of them, conceded in just 15 of them, and only conceded more than 1 goal in 5 of those. So they do know how to keep things tight at the back. And they've lost just 1 of 4 competitive meetings against Germany since June 1986. So it appears that they've got Germany's number. They know how to play against them. They know how to beat them. And it's got the makings for a very, very tactical game. But, despite the fact that they lost 2-0 at home recently against Finland, which was just a bizarre result, it was only a friendly. That was in November. France have been on a strong run of form of late. They've won 6 of their 7 games since, drawing the other, and they've only lost 3 of their 41 most recent fixtures in all competitions. It's a phenomenal record, and I think they're primed and ready to go to Munich to, I wouldn't say cause an upset at all. I think they're ready to go there and really put a marker down and show that they want to win this tournament. Looking at Germany in further detail, Joachim Low has presided over a couple of devastating results in recent months, and Germany have lost 6-0 to Spain in the Nations League, and they lost 2-1 at home to North Macedonia in a World Cup qualifier. And interestingly, that result against North Macedonia, it was the first time they'd lost a European Championship home qualifier for 20 years. And of all the times to lose that record against North Macedonia, they've got some good players, but Germany shouldn't be losing that. And obviously Joachim Low has kind of announced that this will be his last tournament, and I do wonder if that's kind of had an impact. For those of you that perhaps follow the Bundesliga managerial merry-go-round, you'll see that as soon as managers announce they're leaving, the team's form just drops because why should we play for you? And so yeah, everything kind of points to France here for me. But nevertheless, against that result against North Macedonia, Germans followed up that recent defeat with a disappointing 1-1 draw against Denmark in their first warm-up game for the Euros. But then they had a much more pleasant result against Latvia, where they managed to win 7-1. But again, no disrespect to Latvia, but they're not the kind of team that are going to cause Germany problems. And I'd say it kind of covers over the cracks, really. I still think there's a lot of problems in that German side. They're not the German force that we've seen in years gone by. So yeah, France is a much, much bigger task for Germany to deal with than Latvia. But they do have a plethora of attacking and defensive talent themselves. They're not shy about a few world-class players. So it's got all the makings of an absolute classic for me. But yeah, Germany have scored more than 1 goal in just a single game against France, just once in their last 6 meetings. So everything does point to France. But Germany have reached at least the semi-final stage in the last 3 European Championships, but they've not won the tournament since 1996. So there's going to be records broken here, and it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out. But my analysis for this game, only 2 of the last 6 meetings between these two have seen both teams score. And as we've already mentioned, France have got an unbelievable record against Germany. And whilst I think the Germans will be well up for this, it is Joachim Low's last tournament, they'll want to do well. I don't think they've got the quality that France have got. I really don't. I just don't see them beating the current world champions. I don't see it happening. So the fact that I like France to go on and win the whole thing outright, I think they at least get a draw here in Munich. Because, going to Munich, it is a tough task. It's tough for anyone. But I think they get at least a draw. So looking at it here, I think it's going to be a very, very tense game. I don't see there being an influx of goals. I don't see it being absolutely mental end-to-end. I think it will be tight and cagey, as most of the meetings between these two have been in recent years. So I was looking at France double chance, so win or draw, and under 3.5 goals at -125 on Unibet. I think that's the play here, and that will be my favourite pick for the France against Germany game, a game that I cannot wait for. But yeah, as per, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope this video has helped you ahead of Tuesday and helped you potentially make some picks of your own too. I'll be back to talk about even more games from the Euros. Don't forget to follow both of my Twitter pages. For the stats, follow at @CGeorgeGamble. And if you want my personal Twitter profile, it's @George_CGG, where I post the occasional preview generally talk about football and my opinions, whether you agree with them or not. Always worth a follow. But yeah, don't forget, once again, please pop this video a like, subscribe to the channel because it really does help, and hit that bell so that you get notified whenever we release a new video, because we've got plenty more to come from the Euros and you really don't want to miss them. So enjoy the games, and I'll see you soon.